Hi guys, welcome to today's lesson. We're going to be studying lesson 10 on page 124 to 126, okay? So we are going to start with the new content, okay? So let's repeat. Atrocious, remarkably, rewarding, shame, derogatory, a ballot box, a protester, suffrage, a campaign, to protest, a protest, a march, a parade, a polling station, an urn, to register, a register, registry, a remark. Okay, so let's look. The first word is atrocious. Atrocious is an adjective and it means very bad. Normally when we refer to quality, okay? So we could say that was an atrocious speech he gave, or that was an atrocious book I read. Very bad quality. It's an extreme adjective, okay? Remarkably is an adverb. It means something that's surprising or unusual. So remarkably, the teenager woke up on time today for school. Or remarkably, that student did his homework, okay? Something that's surprising or unusual. Rewarding is something that makes us feel satisfied. So most of you guys have studied English for 2 years now. So you could say that there are lots of things that make it rewarding when we study English. Probably when we watch a film and now we can understand it. Or when we can read a book and we understand what's written. Or someone speaks to us in English and we can understand what they're saying. These are all rewarding things. Things that make us feel satisfied, okay? So I could say, what do you think is a rewarding activity for you guys in your everyday life in quarantine? So I find doing exercise is a rewarding activity. I wake up early every day, even in quarantine, and do exercise to make myself feel better. Shame. Shame is something that is disappointing and is not satisfactory. Okay, so for example, it is a shame that he did not do his homework. It is not satisfying. It is disappointing that he didn't do his homework. Or it is a shame that the country is not united against the virus, okay? Or it is a shame that I didn't go to your party. I'm sorry, okay? Something that is disappointing or not satisfactory. Derogatory. Derogatory means not showing respect to somebody. This is normally used when we talk about somebody's comments, okay? So if you think about something, for example, if a man said to a woman, you can't do that job because you're a woman. This would be not just sexist, but it would also be derogatory. It means that you're not showing respect to that person, okay? So I don't know if it's similar in Portuguese, but you guys should be able to see now that it's something when you're not showing respect, okay? A ballot box. A ballot box is where we put our votes in an election. So here you do it on an electronic urn, yes? But in my country, for example, they go there, they choose which candidate they want, they pick up the paper and they put it inside the ballot box, okay? They do this in America too, okay? A protester. A protester is a person who protests, okay? So for example, if I do not agree with my government, I could go and protest against them. Maybe I make a sign and I go to the streets. I want change. I want change. This is a protester. I would be a protester. And you can see the verb in the other column, to protest, okay? So I am a protester, I am protesting, okay? And the event is a protest, okay? So when you see people in the streets, maybe they are protesting against something, okay? Or there is a protest today in the city center, okay? The protesters are protesting against animals' rights being abused, okay? Suffrage. Suffrage is the right to vote, okay? So nowadays in Brazil and lots of countries, everybody has equal right to vote, okay? But in the old days, women especially had to fight for the right to vote. So this is called suffrage. A campaign. Campaign is similar in Portuguese. It means the idea of some kind of event, okay? So, for example, when there is a presidential election in America, the candidates have to campaign for your vote, okay? So they go to the cities and they ask people to vote for them and they explain why. So they are campaigning, okay? To protest and a protest, we have seen a march. A march is also the idea of a protest. So we march is this action, okay? Is what soldiers do. And a march is what people do when they are walking down the streets and generally when they want to protest about something. It is different from a parade. A parade is a celebration. People walking down the streets like in Carnival. This is a parade. It's a happy occasion. People are celebrating. A march is different. It comes from the idea of protesting, okay? So a protest is a form of a march, okay? So when we're marching, we are protesting, okay? We can also say, for example, people protest by sitting on the floor outside of the government building. This would be a protest, okay? So march is the walking down the street to protest. A polling station is where people go to vote, okay? So we have them in schools in Brazil where people go on the Sundays to vote, okay? This is a polling station. An urn is similar in Portuguese, generally used to talk about elections, okay, and voting. It can also be used to talk about a large pot in the garden, okay? So at school, my school, there are 2 trees outside and they are in pots. I could say it's a type of urn. It's less commonly used. To register. To register means to put information, okay? So I register my vote. I put the information about my vote, okay? When people get married, they register their marriage in the cartório here in Brazil, yeah? So this is where they go to register their marriage, okay? A register is a list, okay? Normally with the information that is being registered. So when you get married, it's your father, your mother's name, your wife's name, your wife's father and mother's name. So you are registering your marriage with a list of information, okay? And a registry is a place where official documents are kept. So here is what we would normally call the cartório, okay? So you have cartório, you don't have this in English, okay? We don't have this place. What we have, the closest thing we have is a registry office, okay? It's where people have civil ceremonies, people register births and deaths, etc., okay? And a remark is a comment, okay? So he remarked about my clothes. He commented about my clothes. We also have an idiom here. The grass is always greener on the other side. The grass is always greener on the other side. This is the idea that other people's lives or situations always appear better than our own. We always think that that person is not suffering like we are, etc. Generally, this is not correct, but we always like to think that our neighbor's grass is greener than our grass. Their situation is better than our situation, okay? So now we're going to do let's repeat. The wildfires in the Amazon rainforest were atrocious, and the students decided to campaign against the government's actions with a protest. Suffrage is the right to vote in elections and is an Internationally important issue. Working for the president's campaign was remarkably rewarding. Are you going on the march to protest about the derogatory remarks made by that politician? It was a shame that the employer didn't care about his employees' issues. The ballot box was empty as the voters were protesting about the atrocious remarks made by the president. We sometimes compare our lives to others, thinking that the grass is always greener on the other side. Okay, so now let's practice. Remember, I'm going to read the answer, but if you guys want to practice, which is what I would suggest you to do, is after listening to it once, go back and pause it. Try to say the answer yourself, okay? So let's go. Why had the girl been watching the TV all morning? The girl had been watching the TV all morning because she was waiting to see the Carnival Queen. Which woman in world history is especially famous for campaigning for women's suffrage? Susan B. Anthony is the woman who is especially famous for campaigning for women's suffrage in world history. Where do people register their vote? People register their vote in a ballot box at the polling station. Do you think that derogatory remarks should be punished? Yes, I think that derogatory remarks should be punished. Is there an important event in your country where there are parades in the streets? So if I'm thinking about Brazil, yes, there is an important event in my country where there are parades in the streets. It is Carnival. Would you march for your right to vote? Yes, I would march for my right to vote. Is it a shame that some students don't study enough before their exams? Yes, it is a shame that some students don't study enough before their exams. What big issues are there in your country at the moment? The big issues in my country at the moment are the economy and the health problem of the coronavirus. Is Tokyo a remarkably modern and clean city? Yes, Tokyo is a remarkably modern and clean city. Give me an example of a protest song. An example of a protest song is Get Up, Stand Up by Bob Marley. Luckily, you won't get me singing it. Have you ever campaigned for something or supported a campaign? Yes, I have campaigned for the Labour Party in the UK when I was a politics student. Do you really think that the grass is always greener on the other side for rich people? No, I don't think that the grass is always greener on the other side for rich people, because they too have problems. They do also feel the necessary to have friends, etc. And sometimes it's difficult for them to do that, to trust people, okay? Where can the weather be atrocious in September and why? The weather can be atrocious in September in Florida because it is hurricane season. What do protesters normally do? Protesters normally go to the streets, march, make signs, sing, shout to draw attention. Which profession do you think is especially rewarding? I think teaching is a especially rewarding profession because it helps people, and I see how I can make a difference in people's lives by teaching them English. I know that's something they will keep for the rest of their lives. What are other words for a ballot box? Other words for a ballot box is an urn or a voting booth. Would you protest if your government became a dictatorship? Yes, I would protest if my government became a dictatorship. Do ballot boxes that have paper votes need to be emptied and the votes counted? Yes, ballot boxes that have paper votes need to be emptied and the votes counted. If I had planned a picnic and it rained, would it be a shame? Yes, if you had planned a picnic and it rained, it would be a shame. Do famous politicians have many people working on their campaigns? Yes, famous politicians have many people working on their campaigns. Who is remarkably in good shape for her age? I think Queen Elizabeth II is in remarkably good shape for her age. Do you have electronic urns in your country? No, we don't have electronic urns in my country, but they do in Brazil. If a person wanted to vote in the British government's general election, where would they need to go? If a person wanted to vote in the British government's general election, they would need to go to their nearest polling station. What happened after the votes had all been registered and the polling station had closed? After the polling station had closed, the urns were emptied and the votes were counted. Are the urns in your country electronic? Yes, in Brazil, the urns are electronic. Where did the hotel staff put the tea and coffee at breakfast time? The hotel staff put the tea and coffee in 2 big urns at breakfast time. Does the world have a problem with recycling old electronic products? Yes, the world has a problem with recycling old electronic products. What are some of the most important electronic products in your home? Some of the most important electronic products in my home are my TV and my washing machine. If you live abroad, can you still register your votes? Yes, if you live abroad, you can still register your votes. Is there a register of all births and deaths in your country? Yes, there is a register of all births and deaths in my country. What type of document do you need to register a vote in England? You need whatever document that has your identity on it in order to vote in England, such as your driving license, your birth certificate, or passport. How can you register your interest in a company's new product before it is launched? You can register your interest in a company's new product before it is launched by signing up to receive emails on its website. Okay guys, so that's finished. Tomorrow we will do revision of this content. So if you have any doubts about the new content, you have any doubts about these questions, let me know during the live lesson, okay? So 6 o'clock tomorrow we will meet online. Please make sure that you all come to the online lesson because it's when we can make sure that we see what your doubts are, etc. Also remember to do exercise 7 and 8 from the workbook and have it with you when we do the lesson tomorrow at 6, okay? So I'll see you then. Take care.